Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. This is Mohammed Mohsin Khalid, roll number 2150, BH English 18, semester 8, subject Translation Studies. My topic is the problem of translation of equivalence due to cultural differences. According to Eugene Neda, there are two types of equivalence. Number one, formal equivalence, and number two, dynamic equivalence. In formal equivalence, the method is followed by following the linguistic structure word to word, whereas in dynamic equivalence, the translator will be reader oriented. The translator might follow the technique of paraphrasing or systematic equivalence by borrowing the synonymous words and synonymous expressions which can convey the similar meaning. There are 7 areas where we find cultural differences and the problems of culture while translating from source language to target language. We cannot simply translate any text from source language, from source text to targeted text due to geographical and cultural differences. First of all, the translator must have the knowledge of a specific culture, then he will be able to translate well. So there are 7 areas where we can find problems while translating. Number one, kingship problems, the problem of relationships. In our native language, as we live in Pakistan, we have Urdu and Punjabi language. The word brother-in-law and sister-in-law, we have different names, specific names in order to denote those relations, such as brother-in-law. We have the word Sala and Behnoi. Otherwise, if we only say my brother-in-law has arrived, it doesn't convey the exact meaning to the native speaker of Urdu language. He might has a question, who has come? Either your wife's brother or your sister's husband. So it might cause confusion. Similar to that, if we say my grandfather has just passed away, so the native speaker of Pakistan will ask Dadaji or Nanaji. So there are some problems in relationships or in our language that has specific words for telling the specific relation. As aunt, we have in English we have only single word aunt. Otherwise, we have to borrow another word like maternal or paternal aunt. But in Urdu language, we have khala, phupho, chachi, tai. All these words are different from the other relation. Next, we have problem of idioms and proverbs. In Urdu language, we cannot simply translate word to word like linguistic equivalence. We cannot simply translate or formally we cannot translate, as Eugene Neda said, word to word translation cannot be applied on idioms and proverbs. For instance, आसमान से गिरा खजूर में अटका. We cannot say that stuck in the date palm after falling from the sky. It will be conveying rubbish, or the listener cannot interpret this sentence. So we have to go to the specific language, if in English language, and we have to check इनके पास कौन सा ऐसा idiom है that conveys the exact same meaning. So while searching aloud, after searching aloud, I have come across to a similar idiom that doesn't have the same vocabulary and same sentence structure, but it conveys the same sense. It translates it from sense to sense rather from word to word, like out of the frying pan into the fire. एक मुश्किल से निकल के दूसरी मुश्किल में गिर गया. आसमान से गिरा, एक मुश्किल से निकला और खजूर में अटका, दूसरी प्रॉब्लम में फंस गया. So out of the frying pan into the fire has a kind of similar meaning. Same like that, if we say दाल में कुछ काला है, I cannot simply translate it, there is something black in lentil soup. The English speaker will be confused. What is this? So we have to find the idioms that conveys the same sense, but they might carry the different vocabulary. Next, we have culture-specific words. In our Punjabi culture, as we live in Punjab, Pakistan, we have many specific cultural words and we can say symbiotics that has only be that can only be understood in our culture, and only those people can understand which know our culture. Like we have in our village or rural areas, we have hookah, dhoti, lassi, chaj, khussa when it comes to dressing. So these words can be interpreted by giving description of the particular product and particular object, but for lassi, for khussa, and for this cultural stuff, we do not have exact words that can be applied or that can help to translate these words. To the next point, if we say slangs and onomatopoeia, same like that, we cannot translate slangs, and some scholars argue that onomatopoeias can be onomatopoeic words can be same in all languages, because the signifier and signifier is derived from the signified sound, just like giggling, gaga, mama, or pitter patter, boing, like these sounds. The words are the signifiers are derived from the signified sound. But in our Urdu language, we have some onomatopoeias that are very different from the other languages, such as धड़कन, बिनबिनाहट, सरसराहट, किसी चीज़ का सरसराहना. So maybe there can be words from in other language, but they do not translate, or they do not convey the exact sound, exact meaning as we have in our native language. Slangs हैं, वो भी हम exact translate नहीं कर सकते word to word due to the cultural differences. Colloquial words, informal expressions, such as we have many informal and colloquial words in our language, same as in English. Dude, I'm going to enjoy, dupe, or I'm gonna enjoy, gonna wanna. So dude, hey lads. So in Urdu language we have yaar, baat suno, yara gal sun, sajjan mahi. These type of colloquial expressions, if translated in the language, might lose their actual meaning. Next, technology and food items. This is one of the most important point in problems of translation, because the technology has evolved intensively or exponentially in last 2 decades, and our Urdu is not very rich language. That's why it still lacks vocabulary for the devices, products, and technology items such as Bluetooth, hand-free, headphones. So many things that are related to technology. We cannot translate hand-free like हाथ मुफ्त. हम नहीं कह सकते कि मेरा हाथ मुफ्त कहाँ है. People will not be able to understand these words. Food items, also samosa, pakoda, cannot be exactly translated into other language, but maybe they have their own culture specific food items. Lastly, we have literary translation. As Robert Frost said, poetry is that which is lost in translation. Because in linguistic equivalence, as Popovic said, we have to care about the number of in textual equivalence, we have to care about the formation of the text. If it is poem, we have to, if it is sonnet, 14 lines sonnet, we have to care about the number of rhymes, number of meters used. If there is used iambic meters, we have to care about it. about the lines, about the structure of the text and the formation of the text while translating the text. Because in literary translation there are many literary terms that are used, and they cannot be simply translated from source language to target language without losing their actual and authentic meaning. So even though there are many poems and literary works that are translated well, as Qudratullah Shahab has translated Ode to the West Wind, so it is translated very well, but somehow we can say how much we enjoy while reading the actual poem, we cannot have the same pleasure while reading the translation of Qudratullah Shahab. So these were some of the significant problems while translating any text, and problem of equivalence we have to manage. Eugene Nida has briefly talked about is that meaning is first, because we have to convey the meaning, so we have to be meaning oriented and focused on the meaning, whether our translation is conveying the desired meaning or not. So this was all from our side today. Thank you so much for listening.